welcome to our channel. And yeah, please hit that subscribe button before we dive in. So, have you ever wished you could just instantly download expertise on a really complex topic? Or maybe, simulate a conversation with 1,000 people to really understand human behavior without actually, well, having to talk to 1,000 people?
That's quite the image.
Right. Well, our mission here is basically to take the research you've sent us and distill the most important, surprising, and sometimes kind of challenging insights. Today, we're plunging into this fascinating and it's really rapidly evolving world of digital twins of humans, specifically the ones built using large language models, or LLMs.
That's right.
We'll look at the huge promise these hold, for research, for industry, but also, crucially, where the tech still falls short or maybe reveals something, well, unexpected about us. So let's start by unpacking what these digital doppelgangers really are.
Okay. So when we talk about digital twin simulation with LLMs, we're essentially using these large language models to emulate individual human behavior. Think of them as silicon samples.
Silicon samples.
Yeah, LLM simulations designed to replicate how a human would likely behave, how they'd respond to different stimuli, different questions, different scenarios. And this approach, it really holds immense potential for AI development, social science, even digital experiments in business.
That potential sounds incredibly compelling, especially when you think about the usual hurdles in studying people, right?
Exactly.
I mean, getting truly representative samples, it's so difficult and expensive. And you're always worried about biases, like what if the people who don't answer your survey are systematically different? It's a constant headache for researchers.
It absolutely is a huge challenge. And that's where these silicon samples get really interesting. They could potentially address those very issues, make research, well, more accessible, more efficient. Imagine academics using them for quick pilot tests, to figure out which stimuli work best before a big human study.
Refining their ideas first.
Precisely. And businesses, they could use these simulations to explore product ideas, marketing angles, get customer insights much faster without the usual cost and time of, say, focus groups or big surveys.
Okay, so this isn't just plugging in basic demographics, not just simulate a 30-year-old male from the Midwest.
Yeah.
Are these digital twins meant to mirror specific individual people?
That's the key difference, yes. The really promising approach is creating silicon samples that are true digital twins of actual unique individuals. There was a study, Park and colleagues in 2024, that really highlighted this. They used LLMs, fed them detailed qualitative interview data, and built these digital twins.
And how well did they do?
Astonishingly well. The simulations replicated human responses with 85% the accuracy the humans replicated their own answers a couple of weeks later.
Wait, 85% as accurate as the actual person repeating their own answer?
Exactly. Almost 90% as consistent as a human being consistent with themselves. Think about that. It's not just about accuracy. It suggests these things might be able to model individual consistency.
Wow.
And inconsistency. It really makes you wonder, are these developing something like digital personalities? Or is it just incredibly sophisticated mimicry? That's kind of the mind-bending question here, isn't it?
It really is. So, okay, building on that promise, the big hurdle researchers hit was, well, data. You need good data to build good twins.
A classic problem.
Right. And surprisingly, even with all the data out there, there was this real lack of large public data sets on individual human behavior. Deep, rich data. It's like trying to fuel a rocket without enough, well, fuel.
A perfect analogy, and this is a critical question. How do you bridge that gap? The answer, or at least a major step towards it, is the Twin 2K500 dataset. What's so fascinating here is how it was designed, really meticulous, aiming for a rich and holistic view of individual human behavior. It's seriously comprehensive, a new foundation.
Okay, comprehensive is good. What kind of data are we actually talking about here? What makes it so holistic?
Well, first, the scale. They got over 2,058 participants, to be exact, and it was a representative U.S. sample.
Okay, that's a good start.
In depth. Each person spent, on average, over 2 hours answering questions across 4 different waves.
2 hours per person. Wow.
Yeah. And the breadth of what they asked is, well, it's huge. You've got your standard demographics, age, education, politics, income, all that. But then they went deep into psychological traits. Big 5 personality, empathy, need for cognition, even anxiety and depression scales.
So psychological profiles, too.
Definitely. Plus cognitive tests. Things like the cognitive reflection test, intelligence measures, logical reasoning, and then a whole battery of economic preference tasks. Ultimatum game, risk aversion, loss aversion, mental accounting.
Behavioral economics staples.
Exactly. They included tons of those classic experiments testing heuristics and biases, sunk cost fallacy, framing effects, base rate neglect.
Yeah.
The list goes on. Oh, and for consumer behavior insights, pricing surveys for 40 different products.
That really does sound incredibly thorough. Have they checked the quality? Does it seem reliable?
Initial signs are very positive. The correlations between measures make sense. They show good face validity. And interestingly, they were able to replicate almost all the well-known behavioral economics results from the literature using this data. There were only a couple of minor exceptions, like the base rate fallacy didn't quite replicate as expected, and one item on risk judgments for bicycles. But overall, very high quality.
Okay, so we have this amazing data set, this foundation, but the proof is in the pudding, right? How well did the digital twins actually perform when built using this data?
Right, the performance test. And the results were pretty compelling. They used a model, GPT 4.1 mini in this case, to predict responses on questions the model hadn't seen during training, holdout questions. The digital twins achieved an accuracy of 71.72%.
71.72%. How good is that, really? What's the comparison?
Good question. You need benchmarks. So human retest accuracy, how consistently humans answered the same questions over time, was 81.72%. And just random guessing would get you about 59.17%.
Okay, so much better than random.
Much better. And importantly, that 71.72% accuracy for the twins is 87.67% of the human test-retest benchmark. Basically, they're capturing almost 90% of the consistency you see in actual humans answering the same questions again. And this improvement over random guessing was seen across all the different types of questions. It really shows the power of this personalized simulation.
That's genuinely impressive for predicting individual answers. But what about the bigger picture, like group behavior? Do they capture aggregate trends?
Yeah, they looked at that too. And the twins did replicate aggregate findings pretty well. They successfully reproduced the results of 6 out of 10 classic between-subject studies from behavioral economics.
Where you compare different groups of people.
Exactly. And 2 out of 5 within-subject studies, where you look at the same person under different conditions. They also generated average demand curves from those pricing studies that generally tracked closer to the human data than simpler models, especially for positive prices. So yeah, they seem quite capable of modeling population-level stuff too.
Okay, they're good. Really good, it sounds like.
But, and this is a big but, this raises a really important question. If they're so good, where do they fall short? Because they definitely diverge from humans in some key ways.
Yeah.
And understanding these differences is, well, critical.
Right. The catch, it seems like one of the biggest issues is this tendency for the twins to be almost too rational. Is that fair?
That's a good way to put it, yeah. Where humans show these well-known cognitive biases, these sort of predictably irrational behaviors, the digital twins often give the normative or theoretically correct answer.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. Take outcome bias.
Yeah.
Humans tend to judge a decision based on whether the outcome was good or bad, even if the process was sound or risky. Twins. They rated decisions favorably pretty much regardless of the outcome. They focused on the rational choice process.
Interesting.
Or sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
Humans hate abandoning something they've already invested time or money in, even if it's logical to cut losses. With the twins, the effect was actually reversed compared to humans. They didn't show that reluctance to walk away. Then there's the allay problem. It's a classic choice paradox where humans often violate expected utility theory by preferring certainty. Twins consistently chose the option that maximized expected value, the rational choice, unlike humans who often split, and probability matching. If an option has a 70% chance of success, humans might pick it maybe 70% of the time. Twins, they picked it 100% of the time, the maximizing strategy. Humans only did that about 30% of the time in the study.
So they optimize perfectly.
Seems like it. Even omission bias people judge harmful actions more harshly than harmful inactions, like refusing a vaccine. In the study, 45% of humans refused a hypothetical risky vaccine in omission. Only 4% of the twins did. This over-rationality, it's not just a flaw in the model, maybe. It's a really fascinating mirror reflecting back on us. If these digital copies consistently make better or more rational decisions in these classic tests, what does it really say about human rationality? Are we flawed? Or are the twins just optimizing for a different kind of truth?
That's a deep question. It's like they lack our quirks.
Quirks, biases, maybe even some aspects of common sense reasoning. Another example, they seem unable to unlearn facts. They asked about the number of African countries in the UN, providing a high or low anchor number first. Humans were clearly influenced by the anchor. Twins? Nope. They knew the exact answer was 54 and weren't swayed at all.
So perfect knowledge, no anchoring bias. Are there other specific areas where these differences really show up?
Yeah, a couple of other domains stood out. The twins appear systematically more trusting of the medical profession than humans. That's potentially significant for health simulations.
Okay.
And the political domain seems tricky for LLMs. They might struggle to capture the full spectrum, especially maybe conservative viewpoints. Like in one task about false consensus, 74% of twins opposed increasing deportations. But in the human sample, it was closer to a 45% split supporting it. A big difference.
Okay, so beyond these specific examples, what are the sort of underlying reasons why the twins differ from humans like this? What are the mechanisms at play?
Well, the research points to a few key things. First, diversity. LLMs often produce more homogeneous responses than humans do. They tend to overrepresent certain demographics, often found in online data, maybe wealthier, younger, more liberal viewpoints. It reflects the training data's biases.
So the input shapes the output. Makes sense.
Right, which leads to broader bias issues, systematic inaccuracies in representing different social groups. Then there's something called alienness. This is really interesting. The LLMs might look like they're behaving like humans on the surface.
But underneath?
Underneath, they operate using totally non-human mechanisms. They learn from what people say online, which isn't always what people do in reality. This can cause weird, non-human errors. Like one paper mentioned an LLM thinking 3.11 is greater than 3.9. A simple numerical error a person wouldn't make like that.
That is alien.
And finally, there's the risk of sycophancy or, the social desirability bias. The models might learn to give answers they think the researchers want to hear or answers that seem socially acceptable. It's even been called alignment faking.
Alignment faking. Wow. Okay, so let's bring this back. What does all this mean for you, our listener, the person who wants to learn quickly but also deeply? It sounds like these digital twins, despite the caveats, offer a huge amount of value, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. Huge value. For social scientists, this Twin 2K500 dataset is gold, even setting aside the digital twins. It allows studying correlations, treatment effects.
This is a rich dataset.
Exactly. For AI researchers, it's a fantastic testbed to improve LLM, to understand how they can model complex human traits better. And for you, the learner, it really highlights this incredible potential for rapid, low-cost simulations, gaining insights into complex social stuff that might otherwise be too hard, too slow, or too expensive to study. Simulating human responses on a scale we couldn't really imagine before.
But like any powerful new tech, it raises big questions. Where does this go next? What's the road ahead?
Well, definitely more research is needed,
right,
especially digging into why and where the twins diverge from humans. Those medical and political domains seem particularly important to understand better. And this leads to a really fundamental question for the field. Should we be trying to build digital twins as sort of improved humans, rational, knowledgeable? Or should they also replicate our flaws, our biases, our knowledge gaps to be truly accurate models of us?
That's a critical choice.
It really is.
Yeah.
The path we take has massive implications for how these tools get developed and used. And ultimately, as this field moves so fast, rigorous empirical testing, comparing simulations to real human data, that's absolutely crucial for validation. We need to keep checking.
What a fascinating journey we've been on. From the huge promise of these digital twins, this idea of simulating human behavior, through the amazing data set that makes it possible, their really impressive accuracy in many areas, and then hitting these crucial systematic differences, the rationality gap, the political nuances.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. And it leaves us with this really profound thought to mull over. If AI can simulate us this well, but consistently deviates in areas like irrationality or maybe certain deeply held beliefs, what does that actually tell us about being human? How might our own self-understanding be challenged, maybe even changed, by looking into these silicon mirrors?
Yeah. Powerful question.
Definitely something to think about. This field is clearly evolving incredibly quickly. Many more questions than answers right now. And it's ripe for curious minds like yours to keep exploring. Thanks for joining us.